Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Did you know that Pages on your Mac isn't just one app, but actually two apps? So if you use Mac Pages, it's important to realize that it has two separate modes. Depending upon which template you have selected when you started your document, you're either using Pages in word processing mode or in page layout mode. It's important to know which one you're in and what the differences are. You might mostly just use one of those two modes, but it's important to know the differences between them and why you may want to occasionally use the other. So here I've got two Pages documents open in two different windows. The one here on the left is a document in word processing mode. The one here on the right is a document in page layout mode. Word processing mode has some very special features that you may just take for granted. One is that text will flow from one page to the other. Notice here I just have one page and there's nothing on it. The text cursor is blinking there at the very top left corner of that page and I could type something there. And this is exactly what you would expect from a word processor. You create a new document and then you could just start typing. But if you keep typing and adding more and more lines, what happens is when you get to the bottom of the first page, you don't manually have to add in a second page. Look what happens here when I paste one past the first page. Notice it automatically added a second page and the text continued on it. The text flows from page 1 to page 2. If I were to add something here like an extra line, it pushes all the lines down and it goes from page 1 to page 2 just as you would expect. It's probably something we all take for granted as word processors have done this for decades. Likewise, if I were to delete a bunch of paragraphs here, you could see how page 2 disappears. It's no longer needed. So here's a better sample of text and you can see it just fills 5 pages. I didn't have to create any of these pages. It started with just page 1 and you can keep writing and it just will keep adding pages. This is because there's something on each page called body text. And you could see it when you go to View and then Show Layout. You can see this box here around the text and it's on each page. I can jump to each page and I could see it there. That text box is called body text and you didn't have to put it there. You didn't have to create it. You didn't have to add it each time there was a new page. The body text from page 1 automatically continues on page 2 and then continues on page 3 and so on. Now there are other special features of word processing mode as well that you may also take for granted. For instance, I'm going to insert an image here. It's placed here in the text and it actually has an anchor in the text. The anchor can be seen right here. It's this little blue line with a dot on the top. What's interesting about that is if I were to insert more text or just some blank lines before the anchor, you can see how the image moves with the text. So it'll stay anchored in place in relation to this point here. Now you could change that by selecting the image, going to the right sidebar here, and then going to Arrange, and you've got Stay on Page to make it stop doing that. So you can see it'll just stay there now. And you can have the text flow around it in certain ways or move with the text, but also still have the text flow around in certain ways. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 3,000 others that support MACMOST through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Another thing in word processing mode is that the pages here on the left, well, they just contain text flowing from one to the other. You can't move these pages around. Like I can't move page 3 to before page 2. However, you can arrange the contents of your document if you use sections. So I'm going to put the cursor here just before this paragraph on page 3 and I'm going to insert a section break. And this is going to divide this document into 2 sections. I can now select each of these sections independently because they're 2 separate sections and I can actually move the section. I can move section 2 ahead of section 1 if I want. So for instance, when writing, each section could be a chapter, a subchapter, a group of chapters, however you want to put it together, and you can rearrange things using sections. And also another thing you'll get in word processing mode is header and footer fields. That's these boxes here at the top. I see them because remember I turned on Show Layout. So normally you wouldn't see them, but they're there and you can still click on them. And you could insert any text you want in there. Like you could insert your name here. I could put the name of the book, like the title here. And I could here, if I click there, it's actually going to even prompt me to ask, do I want to have the page number there? And I could select various different ways to show the page number. And if I go to page 2, you can see I've got name, I've got title, and I've got page 2 out of 5 now and 3 out of 5 here on the next page. But now let's go and look at the other mode, page layout mode, which is this document here. With this document, there's nothing on the page. I can go to view and show layout. Nothing appears. I have no body text. I've got no header or footer fields. It's a completely blank page. If I type, nothing happens. If I click to try to place the cursor somewhere to type, nothing happens. This is just a blank page ready for you to add things to. If you want to have some text on it, you would have to actually put a text box there. For instance, insert and then text, or usually if you've got more space up here, there's a button for text to insert a text box. You can put the text box wherever you want. You can type, whatever, add shapes, add images, whatever you want here. That's how page layout works. No matter what you do here, it's not going to automatically add page 2. Instead, you would add this button here that adds another page. And you've got page 1 and page 2. And by default, they're completely unrelated. So this page here has this text on it. And then maybe this page here, we could go ahead and insert, say, a shape like a triangle, like that. We've got 2 separate pages. And since they're separate pages, not connected, we can actually reorder them. So it's really easy to reorder the pages. Essentially, each page is like its own separate section. So when should you use each one? Well, word processing mode, as the name suggests, is for writing. So if you're writing something, a book, a report, an article, or taking notes, then you probably want word processing mode. It allows you to just write. It'll keep adding pages as you write more. You can easily add page numbers. You can create sections if you need to have, say, chapters in a book. And it's what most people would use just if they want to write and do basic word processing. Page layout mode is for, well, basically everything else. If you want to create a sign or a brochure or a newsletter or anything that has a lot of page layout elements, a lot of graphics and a lot of design involved. If you want writing, you use word processing mode. If you want design, you use page layout mode. But there's a lot of crossover. For instance, if you want to make a book, word processing mode seems to be the right mode, but that's if you just have a lot of flowing text. If you want to do something like, say, a children's book, a book with a lot of graphics, a kind of educational textbook, that would be page layout mode. And you can do page layout in word processing mode. In the middle of your novel, you can have a page that has lots of images, shapes, and other elements on it. There's nothing to stop you from using all of those design elements in word processing mode. Likewise, in page layout mode, you can link together text boxes to have text flow from one page to the next if you do it manually. That's usually what you do in newsletters when you have an article, say, continue on another page. So how do you start in the right mode? Well, when you go to create a new document in Pages, you're asked to choose from a template. And there are 2 blank templates. One is called blank, and that's a blank word processing mode document. Another is called blank layout, and that's a blank page layout document. These are your 2 primary templates that you would use. But there are a ton of other templates. Most of those are page layout templates. For instance, if you go down here to certificates or newsletters or brochures, these are all page layout documents. But there are some other word processing templates. For instance, reports here has some word processing templates because a report may be many pages long, so it's flowing from one page to the next. But in general, for starting off with a blank document, it's blank for word processing, blank layout for page layout. Now, how do you tell which mode you're in? Well, if you're in word processing mode and you go to File and you look here, you'll see Convert to Page Layout. That's your clue that you're currently in word processing mode. Whereas if you're in page layout mode, like here, if you go to File, it says Convert to Word Processing. So in other words, convert to the opposite. Also, if you look here under the right sidebar and you choose document here, you'll see document body. If that's checked, that means you're in word processing mode. Whereas here, if I look on the right sidebar, you can see document body is turned off. Now, of course, this menu item suggests that you can convert from one to the other, but only do so if you're absolutely sure you know what you're doing. Now, converting from page layout to word processing, that's going to go and add the body text to each page. You didn't really lose anything, and I can undo and no harm done. But in word processing mode, if you convert to page layout, you're going to get a warning because it's going to remove the body text. So if you've written a 500-page novel and it's all in body text and you use this command, it's going to remove everything that's there. You can see it's all gone. The body text field isn't there in page layout mode. So you basically just deleted everything. Fortunately, you can Command Z to undo that conversion. So if word processing mode and page layout mode are so different, why didn't Apple just create two apps? Well, there's a lot of crossover between these two modes. 90% of the rest of the stuff, like for instance, paragraph and character styles, handling of text and images, it's the same between the two modes. So if there were two different apps, you probably have a lot more people asking, why are there two different apps? And why aren't these just combined into one? Suppose you really only use Pages in one of those two modes. You don't want to have to choose a template each time. You can actually just set it up to just go right to the mode you want. So in Pages, go to Settings. And here you've got a setting under General for new documents. So it could show the template chooser, but you could also use a specific template, change that, and select what you want. So if you always just want it to start in word processing mode so you can get to writing right away, choose blank. Select it right here. And now when you use File, New, it just goes right to a brand new word processing document. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Want to know about every new MACMOST video each week? Sign up for the absolutely free MACMOST email newsletter at macmost.com/newsletter.